So basically when we're seated, when we're not performing or speaking, then we put it back on. But when you are in the cantor's pulpit, you're welcome to take it off. Okay. Just like that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Whatever you feel comfortable. Oh, we are. Shabbat Shalom Betham. Shabbat Shalom. That's beautiful, thank you. And good Shabbos to each and every one of you as well. We also want to welcome our fellow Bethamniks and our visitors who are with us on live stream. Greetings to each and every one of you, and thank you for joining us at our Kabbalat Shabbat service this evening. I believe that Rabbi Tornberg and David are on live stream. Thank you for being with us. Cantor might well be on live stream, but she is in Las Vegas, a well-deserved visit with her mother and with her sister. So Chazan, if you're enjoying Las Vegas with the family, greetings to you as well. So therefore, I am enormously grateful and very reassured to have our good friend Micah Marder, who is with us on the pulpit this evening. Micah, thank you so much for being here tonight. I know that I, for one, deeply, deeply appreciate it. It's very simple. The bottom line, I couldn't do it alone. So thank you for being with us, and welcome back. Welcome back to the pulpit at Betham. We are going to begin on page 7. On page 7, the words attributed to the late Rabbi David Polish. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will we recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will we ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let us keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let us be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help us to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let us learn to pause, if only for this day. Let us find peace on this day. Let us enter into a quiet day, world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Matohu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matohu manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
All together.
Hine matohu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבר אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבר אחים גם יחד.
Beth, whether in person or at home, why don't we greet one another with a Shabbat Shalom, with a good Shabbos. Haddakat Nerot l'Shabbat, for the kindling of our Shabbat candles. As we now turn to page 3, it's our great pleasure to call upon our good friend Paula Yogev, and feel free to rise at this point if you wish. Yep. Okay. Uri, thank you.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hails us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Paula, Uri, Todarabah, Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos to you both. Thank you. Thank you. We will look forward to a communal expression of Kiddush and Motzi at the end of our service tonight. Without further ado, please be seated. We join with Micah, our beloved Erev Shabbat anthem, pages 20 and 21. L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Yishmi'anu el hamichad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'liti la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Hitoreri, ki va'orechu mi'ori, Uri, shir taveri, kevod Adonai alayich nigla la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat נקבלה לך זאתי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עצרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך זאתי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך זאתי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לה 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 לך זאתי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך זאתי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה.
One of the most beautiful traditions, of course, of Shabbat is to look forward to and anticipate the Malachei Hasharet, the ministering angels. We believe it is they who imbue each and every one of us, at least for the 25-hour period of Shabbat, with what we refer to as a neshama yetera, an additional soul that will tide us through the beauty, the solemnity, the peace, the tranquility, the quiet of Shabbat. Page 24, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא תברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה
בריחו.
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעולמה, ויאמרו
Amen. Page 28, the formal call to worship.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la la Adonai Hamevorach Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Hamevorach Leolam Vaed Hamevorach Hamevorach Leolam Vaed.
Together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bitvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmorotehem, barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila. Adonai tzavaot shmo. Eochai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu, la'olam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochtenu Uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגי יומם ולילה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam
ואהבת
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך
והיו
הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. Page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. Together, the high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. And though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. And then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot ozef eleh. Nora tehilot ozef eleh. Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Yai lai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי 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 לי. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai.
ונאמר כי פדדנה את יעקב וגל לו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום,
והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים.
As we read together, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
As we ready and as we prepare ourselves for the Amidah on page 46, let us be reminded of these words. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits and God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city, but prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. As we rise for the tefillah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah, Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Oholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Bal Givurot, Umido Melach, Melech Mimit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Silently, we now continue Balachash all the way through page 62, at which time feel free to be seated. Those of you who would want to be seated now, please, you're more than welcome, and we'll join with Micah together in a short while.
May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom, b'mroma. Oh, say shalom, b'mroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh Uyase shalom. Hallelujah. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Oh, say shalom. Huyase shalom. Huyase shalom. Huyase shalom. Alleluia. May the one who makes peace, may the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down.
Birkat Refuah, the prayer, the blessing for healing, page 253. 253. Mi sheberach avatenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah hu yivarech et hacholim hahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimalei rachamim alehem lachrimam urapotam ulahachzikam v'yishlach mehira refuah shlema min hashamayim ruafat hanefesh uruafat haguf b'toch sha'ar cholei Yisrael hashat ba'agla ufisman kariv v'nomar. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal, as tonight, this Shabbat, we call to mind Barry Abrams, Brigata Afzal, Deborah Addison, Cynthia Baylor, Bruce Allen Bell, Michael Bloch, Jack Brennan, Jeff Chernow, Sandy Chernow, Marissa Cohen, Richard Cousins, Vicky Edelman, Andy Dorfman, Miller Foreman, Lou Geddes, Stuart Geddes, Brian Geiger, Jerry Goldman, Harav Chaim Yaakov ben Siporova Kalman, Joe Cates, Frank Kajanowicz, Mark Kogan, David Lieberman, Spencer Liebowitz, Stephen Litvak, Harvey Ostroff, Vagia Bartieli, Sharon Paul, Nicholas James Perry and Philip Andrew Perry, Steve Porter, Kelly Quagliotti, Harav Rachel bat Shmuel Ofruma, Rebetzer David Rachmiel, Ben Sarah Valevi, Jane Rathbun, Samuel Schloss, Sarah Penina bat Aryeh Bechaya Bela, Barry Spector, Stan Tesla, Beverly Tisdale, Gail Tomasco, Kay Tulino, and Judy Weiss. If there are any other names that you would like to publicly mention at this point, please feel free to do so if you would. Linda?
Renee Kelly.
Thank you very much. Jay? Thank you. Bev? Thank you. Paula? May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and for their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send each a refuah shlema, a complete renewal of guf, of body, and of neshama, and of soul. And let us say, Amen.
sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, Betham. Good Shabbos to each and every one of you. Congregants sometimes ask for my suggestions or for my advice about a proposed itinerary for their family trip to Israel. I don't necessarily have to remind them about the perfunctory destinations for Jewish tourists from abroad. For the most part, they already know what to include, and so they don't need me to tell them how they should spend their precious time and their money while there. But if I am asked, truth be told, I do go out of my way to impress upon them the need to spend sufficient time in at least 3 places, which admittedly are usually, though not always, scheduled. One is in Tel Aviv, one is outside the city, in Rehovot, and the other is in Yerushalayim. To learn about the relatively unknown origins of the state, you must visit Machon Ayalon, the so-called Ayalon Institute in Rehovot. In fact, on the grounds of the Weizmann Institute, located on the very site of a clandestine underground bullet factory built by a group of young and tenacious and brave and daring Jewish pioneers in preparation for Israel's war of independence. How many of you? Yep, good. A good many of you have been to the Ayalon. It has to be seen to be believed. Many ascribe, by the way, the fledgling state's military success, at least in part, to that secret factory built under the very noses of the British. One cannot but marvel at the chutzpah and the ingenuity of those determined at all costs to establish an independent Jewish state. To learn about the unusual historical facts regarding the actual public declaration of independence by David Ben-Gurion, you'll remember on Friday, hastily, just before Shabbos, on Friday, May the 14th, 1948, you must stop by Heichal Ha'atzmaut, Independence Hall on Rothschild Boulevard in the very heart of Tel Aviv. Originally the home of Tel Aviv's first mayor, Meir Dizengoff, as in Dizengoff Square, the main hall offers the Jewish visitor a rare glimpse of what the room actually looked like on that momentous and historic day nearly 74 years ago. And I can't begin to tell you and I think Mikey and Claire, you can attest to us, because we were there so often, how many congregants were moved to tears when for the very first time they saw for themselves the actual room where it all happened. And when they heard for the very first time the original recording of Ben-Gurion's booming voice. To learn about the horrors of the Nazi Holocaust, you must visit Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, arguably the most famous of all the world's museums, commemorating the most cataclysmic event in all Jewish history. Unfortunately, all too many visitors, and for all I know, you might have been one of them, all too many visitors only have enough time to visit the actual museum. And that certainly takes long enough. And if you'll recall, leaves one both physically and emotionally exhausted. But I believe that a visit to Yad Vashem is somehow incomplete without also visiting the Children's Memorial, the Valley of the Lost Communities, and the Garden of the Righteous among the nations. The sheer enormity of the sprawling complex is indicative then of the very scope of the indescribable horror and the unspeakable brutality that resulted in the single most catastrophic event in all Jewish history. There is no attempt, God forbid, to either whitewash or minimize the systematic, calculated, methodical genocide of the Jewish people. Now, my dear friends, you'll forgive me if you will, but I rather quickly came to two conclusions after arriving on these blessed shores over 32 years ago. We Americans, by and large, have little understanding and appreciation for both world history and world geography. Two of my favorite subjects, by the way, while I was a high school student in Cape Town. But I'd like to think that over the years things might have improved, in which case I'd be only too pleased to be corrected. But for example, the most basic elemental facts regarding the Nazi Holocaust are simply unknown by all too many American school children. And it's little wonder then that so many of their parents, you'll forgive me, are clueless too. Which is precisely one of the reasons why the Holocaust of late has become such a lightning rod across the political, educational, and cultural divide in this country. I have a confession to make. Just 2 weeks ago, it was on Zoom, I believe, but just 2 weeks ago, I impetuously and erroneously jumped on the proverbial bandwagon of Holocaust revisionism by criticizing the unanimous decision of the Education Board in McMinn County, Tennessee, to remove Art Spiegelman's Pulitzer Prize-winning graphic novel, Mouse, from the middle school Holocaust curriculum. I joined the rousing and boisterous chorus of Jewish complainants who belittled and criticized the decision, but in hindsight might have also failed to recognize some other important facts as well. Mouse has not been banned per se, and the Holocaust will continue to be taught. 8th grade students in McMinn County who are intent on reading Mouse one way or the other will do so. After all, nobody nor anything can prevent them from doing so. Needless to say, there are countless ways to readily and freely access the book, which has caused so much hype and hysteria. The fact of the matter is that there are sections of Mouse that are deeply disturbing and grotesquely graphic. In particular, the panels depicting the author's own mother's tragic death by suicide. And when one considers the fact that teen suicide remains such a devastating and alarming reality in this country, it's understandable that some parents of middle school students, and in this case members of the school board in question, might have had legitimate concerns. The Holocaust imagery in stark black and white drawings suggests to Thomas Balazs, an English professor at the University of Tennessee in Chattanooga, that Maus is, after all, an adult novel in its tone and tenor. In his compelling article, The Mouse That Roared, Thomas Balazs asks, and I quote, "Does this mean that young teenagers shouldn't be allowed to read Maus? No, of course not. It does mean, however, that it's not completely unreasonable for a parent or an educator to reserve this book for older readers who will be better placed to understand and appreciate its importance and value." By the way, Balazs, who is Jewish and a second-generation Holocaust survivor, doesn't believe that Maus is the sine qua non of Holocaust literature other than, say, The Diary of Anne Frank. It's not anti-Semitic or book-burning to replace one Holocaust text with another, he wrote, even on International Holocaust Remembrance Day, even if it's Maus. Now, Thomas Balazs reread the book recently, and he concluded that he too would probably replace Maus on a middle school curriculum, confident that a lot of it will simply go over their heads. It just so happens that he and his wife have a middle school son who hasn't read Maus yet. I wouldn't prevent him from reading it now, and I expect that he will read it one day, but he doesn't have to read it yet. Now, Thomas Balazs is careful not to excoriate the McMinn County's Board of Education for its decision. He doesn't believe that its members are irrational or hateful or that they're promoting ignorance. They simply want to protect kids from encountering the world's worst horrors, he concludes in his article, before they are old enough to fully understand them. And there is nothing sinister or bigoted about that. So, when all is said and done, I personally have no problem with introducing not middle school, but hopefully more mature high school students to the really difficult and devastating effects of the Shoah so graphically portrayed in Maus. Anne Frank's Diary and Elie Wiesel's Night are, in my opinion, two mandatory books that should be introduced to a younger audience regarding the Holocaust. Admittedly, they represent a very different perspective compared with Maus, but one that's equally valid. With Holocaust education, as you well know, still being so hotly debated and contested in this country today, it's so essential that the American Jewish community takes any and all steps to make sure that the Shoah, as a seminal event in both Jewish and world history, is taught properly and prudently. And I think of our longtime congregant, the late Deanne Comer, of blessed memory, who did so much to promote Holocaust education both here in Abington Township and, for that matter, throughout the Commonwealth. In addition, it's incumbent upon us all to remain ever vigilant and proactive when it comes to ugly and sinister manifestations of anti-Semitism. The US Senate Foreign Relations Committee finally They took long enough. Finally heard from Professor Deborah Lipstadt, the renowned Holocaust historian and Emory University professor, and let's not forget, President Biden's nominee to be his special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. Her confirmation, still undecided, couldn't come a moment too soon, as this country continues to be bedeviled by ever-rising tides of anti-Jewish rhetoric and behavior. I want to conclude my remarks this evening by returning to the prairies of southeastern Tennessee, a state that I must admit that I was entirely unfamiliar with until 1998, that is. And I think you know where I'm going with this, literally and figuratively. Take Route 75 south from Athens, the center of McMinn County, and you'll eventually arrive in Chattanooga. Head in a northwesterly direction out of the city for about 25 miles. That's it. And you'll come across the tiny town of Whitwell, population less than 2,000. I guarantee you that until 1998, nobody had heard of Whitwell. But thanks to a simple yet remarkable and unique 8th grade project, now we all know. The students at Whitwell Middle School struggled. They truly struggled, as we all still do, to grasp the concept and the enormity of the 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust. And so, as you'll remember, none of us will forget, they started collecting paper clips, one for every Jew murdered in the Shoah. The so-called Paper Clips Project, you'll remember, soon attracted national attention and international support. And at the center of the school's Children's Holocaust Memorial is an authentic German boxcar that once transported victims to their deaths. Today, that boxcar is filled with a great number of the more than 40 million paper clips collected to date. God bless Whitwell Middle School, whose address, by the way, is 1 Butterfly Lane. 1 Butterfly Lane, a poignant reminder of young Pavel Friedman's famous poem, The Butterfly, which he composed nearly 80 years ago on June the 4th, 1942. 2 Holocaust-related stories from 2 very different middle schools, and yet only 100 miles apart. Ask yourself, should 8th graders be encouraged to read Maus? Or should they go about collecting paper clips? Or maybe both. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Dear friends, we are going to continue with Aleinu, page 282. Of course, as always, the second Hebrew paragraph. Could we invite Lauren and Shari and Mitch and Arson and a good friend to please step forward at this time? Join Micah on the Bima, page 282, Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ועושה הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Page 290. The words of the late Rabbi Chaim Stern. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love and hope and dream to be and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love, what death has touched. Page 295. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Betty Sachs Feinstein, Larry Fryer. Dearest Sandy, please know that our heartfelt thoughts and prayers continue to be with you, and with Beth, and with Eric, and David, and Andrea, and the members of your wonderful family, who I know have been and will continue to be such a great support system at this time in your life. We're thinking of you all. Please know that. Marvin Levin, past president of Betham, 1989 to 1991, and Nathan Niebauer, all of whom passed away during Shloshim this past month. Tonight, we also call to mind Cantor Samuel B. Appel, Nathan Banks, Ruth Bondi, Arthur Borowski, Joel Stephen Brandenburg, Morris Braverman, Abraham Brightman, Sidney Birchuk, Jerome Bostein, Francis Chazen, Herman Cheeson, Gerald Corrin, Dorothy Davis, Murray Dorfman, Adele Dorch, Rose Ifros, Minnie Emus, Leon Evantash, Sarah Feingold, Albert Feltman, Kenneth Fox, Bryna Frank, Rabbi Bernard Solus Frank, Minnie Fryer, Alex Gold, Noah Goldsmith, Sylvia Goldstein, Molly Goodman, Florence Gordon, Beatrice Appleman Green, Toby Greenwald, Herman Elias Hass, Anne Hedrick, Frank Herman, Anna W. Hirschfield, Richard Holzman, Sol Hyams, Abraham R. Hyman, Scott Josephs, Fanny Kahn, Margaret Kalstein, Isai Kaplan, George Kaiden, Louis Koenig, Aryeh Leib Yisrael, Lee Krasenstein, Michael Lawrence, Benjamin Leiner, Isidore Levin, Stephen Lynn, Dorothy Lynn, Hilda Markowitz, Mark Moses Mason, Irving Master, Bella Match, Randy Mazer Waxman, Robert Molowitz, Masha Piepermeister, Fanny Phillips, Alexander Powell, Jack Pollock, Louis Ross, Bertha Samuel, Howard J. Schneer, Charlotte Schnoll, Herbert Schwartz and Rose Schwartz, Morris Siegel, Steve Sirota, Harry E. Simon, Tessie Spiegel, Harry B. Stein, Herbert E. Strauss, Samuel Zweig, Abraham Wiener, Carl Weinstein, Ray Weintraub, Lena Weiss, David Weiss, Samuel Walk, Gerald Yeeses, Fanny Zucker, and Stephen E. Zucker, whose yahrzeit occurred during the course of this past week, and all those other dear ones, whom we now remember with tender affection. Together, as always, with these 6 million of our martyred brethren who perished in the Shoah, and all those who gave their lives and who continue to give their lives in defense of Medinat Yisrael, the state of Israel, and of these United States. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. Kaddish, page 294. Yit gadal v'yit gadash mei rabba, amen. Bioma divrach yirute v'yamlech malchute. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agalau fisman kariv v'yimru, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mavorach liolam ulalmei ulamaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'olma v'yimru, amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and all Israel, to which we say, amen. And may the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, and to that let us say, amen. Please be seated at this time. Representing our president, Josh Posnan, it is our great pleasure to call upon our very good dear friend, Barry Tinkelman, to bring greetings and for this evening's announcements. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. For those of you who are here in person for the first time in 2022, welcome back to the Moeller Sanctuary. It's good to see you here live and in person, and we hope more congregants and friends will join us here in the weeks to come. And also welcome to the 57 live streamers, 4 YouTubers, and 6 Facebook streamers. As we have since March 2020, the professional staff, lay leaders, and clergy are continuously working together to actively monitor the COVID situation and adjust our policies accordingly. Hopefully we'll see some changes in the near future. Tomorrow's Torah study of Parsha Ki Tisat, led by Rabbi Leib, begins at 9 o'clock on Zoom. Services will follow at 10 on the same Zoom meeting. Rhoda Riba will chant Torah. Please note the time change for Sunday morning's Pirkei Avot class. The class will begin at 10 this week on Zoom. Please see your Beth Am emails for all Zoom meeting IDs. Celebrate Cantor Zark's 36 years of music at Beth Am on April 3rd at 4 p.m. Cantors from the Old York Road Kahila will join Cantor Zark and Mark Doherty in music from the Bema to Broadway. Tickets are available now on Shul Cloud or by contacting the Temple office. Tickets must be purchased in advance. No tickets will be sold at the door. Breakfast is on us next Sunday, February 27th at 9:30. When congregant Mark Lepatin will talk about patient advocacy. Copies of his new book, Room for Improvement, that's RHEUM, as in rheumatologist, will be available for purchase at the breakfast. Register by Wednesday, again, via Shul Cloud, or contact Stacy in the office. Please note that we currently require everybody attending events in the building to provide proof of COVID vaccination and to mask up. If you aren't feeling well, please stay home and get well, and we'll wish you a speedy recovery. As always, you can drop off your donations for our several social action projects at the back door. Your donations for the Jenkintown Food Cupboard, HIAS, I Support the Girls, and the clothing drive are appreciated. See the wish lists in Tuesday's email. Next Friday night is our annual Disability Awareness and Inclusion Shabbat. We look forward to seeing guest speaker Rebecca Salas Hodge, the adult choir, our February anniversary couples, and you right here in the Moeller Sanctuary. Good Shabbos, and be excellent to each other.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Friends, we are going to conclude our Kabbalat Shabbat service on page 321 as we join with Micah in Adon Olam, in Adon Olam. And for those of you that can spare a couple of minutes, afterwards, we're going to make our way out into the main lobby for Kiddush and for Motzi. Adon Olam. Thank you, Micah.
I need everybody's help with this one. I'm going to sing a line, you'll sing it back. The only words you need to know, instead of all the ones that are on the page for right now, are yum diddy die 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 die. I think we can do that. I'll sing a line, you sing it back. Here it goes. Yum diddy die 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 die.
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 Die 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 die.
Die 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 die.
Here's what it sounds like all together. I'll sing it. When you feel ready, sing along. Someone once taught me, if you know it, sing along. And if you don't know it, sing along even louder. Let's try it out. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Every time we get to that part, I want to hear all of your voices singing along with me. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Ve'et Nasa Ve'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra. Here we go. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die. והוא אחד ואין שני להמשיל לו להחבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה. Yum diddy die 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 die. Yum diddy die 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 die.
Yum did it I die 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 die. Yum did it I die 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 die. Yum did it I die 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 die. Yum did it I die 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 die.
והוא אלי, וחי גורלי, וצור חבלי, והצרה, והוא ניסי, ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי,
ויום הקרב. ידידי די די די. ידידי די 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 די. ידידי די 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 די. ידידי די 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 די. ידידי די די די. ידידי די די
בידו הפקיד רוחי והייתי שן והעירה ועם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא יירא Yum did I die die die, yum did I die die die, yum did I die 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 die, yum did I die die die, yum did I die die die, yum did I die die die. Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos to you. Micah, thank you so much for being on the Bimah this evening. Deeply, deeply appreciated. And that reminds me, that beautiful, glorious rendition of Adon Olam, the late, great, revered, saintly Rabbi H.B.W. of blessed memory. He always believed that we are a Hasidic Reformed community, right? Hasidic. So, if you like, a melding, a blending of both Jewish worlds. Betham, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories, glowing ever and even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love, we offer thanks and blessing, O God. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos to you all. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. I think Uri enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Shabbos.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, wonderful. That's who's the composer?
Ellen Allard,
Oh, okay.
who usually writes kids' music,
Yeah.
and it's like one of her non-children's songs.
That's great. That's wonderful. And by the way, it reminds me, you did one towards the beginning. I loved it. I think it was me. It's one that we don't ordinarily do. That I really want to impress it upon Eleanor. If at all possible.
Let's see, we did Hine Matov, we did Lecha Dodi, Shalom Aleichem.